Good afternoon. I want to welcome everyone to this afternoon's meeting of the Senate Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. Madam Secretary, please note all members are present except for the Majority Leader. Please mark her present when she arrives. Appreciate everyone's patience. It's end of one of our deadlines here, so a lot of members may be going to present in other committees and going in and out. So please excuse that. It's no disrespect to any bill presenters or anyone else in the room. I'd ask everyone to silence their cell phones. Sometimes we have contentious issues here in the Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. Please be respectful to everyone. We all have differing views, but I'd ask everyone to be respectful to everyone else. With that, we are going to start with our hearing on Senate Bill 406, and we're very pleased to have two representatives from the Secretary of State's office. At some point, we might take a recess to get to our work session, and then we'll come back into that hearing. But glad to have you both here. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you very much. Senator Orenshaw Gabriel de Cara, for the record, Chief Deputy Secretary of State under Secretary Francisco Aguilar. With me here today, I have our Deputy Secretary for Elections, Mark Velashin, and then also joining us from Las Vegas, I believe, is Chief Deputy Attorney General Alyssa Engler. Unfortunately, Secretary Aguilar couldn't join us today, but we've presented the committee with a letter from the Secretary explaining how critical this bill is. This legislation has been a priority for him since even before he was elected, and in the months since he's taken office, he's spent significant time meeting with state and local election workers. Those conversations have led him to believing even more passionately that Nevada must take action on protecting our election workers. This committee has heard a number of bills that would adjust how our elections are conducted, the methodology and the timeline and the procedure. But as the Secretary says over and over again, elections don't work without people. Nevada has seen truly unbelievable turnover in election officials in both elected and administrative positions over the last 4 years. It's gotten harder to recruit poll workers, and a big reason why is that people are afraid. That's why the Secretary is bringing the bill before you, SB 406. It would provide additional protection for election workers and state loudly and clearly that these assaults on the democratic process have no place here in Nevada. We've provided an amended version of the bill, which we will talk through now. If you're curious why sections 2 through 5 were removed in this amendment, it's because we are working with Assemblywoman Newby to include those protections in one of her bills. The first section adds a new statute which clarifies that harassing or intimidating an election worker with the intent of interfering in the conduct of an election or retaliating against that worker for their work on an election is a Class E felony. And that language is drawn from a current statute regarding harassment or intimidation of voters and others at polling places. And now, Senator Orenshaw, do you want to take a brief recess?
Chief Deputy, I really appreciate your patience. I wonder if we could just take a brief recess, and now that I've got all my members present, just because with the end of session deadlines, members are going into other committees, presenting bills, and it's a pretty frenetic time of session. So I wonder if I would like to go to the work session now while I have all my members present. Director Anthony, if you could direct us to our work session document.
Thank you, Chair Orenshaw. Nick Anthony from the Research Division, for the record. First bill before the committee today is SB 54. SB 54 was heard in this committee on March 2nd. It was sponsored by the Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections on behalf of the Secretary of State. The bill requires the Secretary of State to biannually prepare, maintain, and publish an elections procedure manual and to provide training to certain election officials related to election procedures. There are two proposed amendments. Both are attached to the work session document. At the hearing, the Secretary of State presented a conceptual amendment to allow for the training to be scheduled whenever deemed appropriate, to allow the Secretary of State's office a little more flexibility. Subsequent to the hearing, the Secretary of State's office submitted a further conceptual amendment which proposes to do three things. It authorizes the Secretary of State to pay for deputies and employees of county or city clerks to attend training courses. It makes the election procedures manual subject to legislative commission review every 4 years, as opposed to the current bill exempted it from the reg-making process. And then lastly, it authorizes the Secretary of State to publish updates to the procedures manual as often as necessary. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Director Anthony. I know I have a question from Senator Daly, and then members, if there are any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And thank you to our representatives from the Secretary of State's office. Senator Daly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so I'm glad to see that we're going back under the regulatory process for the manual. But I just had a question on number 3 on the second proposed amendment, where you would have more frequent updates. How do you envision that happening? Because when SOS may publish more frequent updates as necessary. Still have to go through the regulatory process. So I'm curious how you were thinking on that. Instead of once every 4 years, you're going to have your workshops and do all your stuff, or is there going to be some provision where you can make ministerial changes? And if that would be allowed, I don't know. But I was curious what your guys' thought was.
Thank you for the question, Senator. Mark Voloshin, Deputy Secretary of State for Elections. You're absolutely right. The intent is to set it up so that ministerial changes and really non-substantive changes are allowed to be made. This procedures manual, again, to just reiterate, it'll augment the statutes, the regulations. This is really going to be where do you click on a screen to pull a certain report as required for a canvas. Again, very much a user's manual, not talking about the processes, procedures, or statutory requirements of the law or the electoral administrative process. And by carving out that those, there's a new update. Instead of this screen, it's not up here anymore. The button is now down here. The intent would be to identify a way where we could provide that to keep the manual applicable on a more routine basis.
And thank you. And I imagine if you bring your regulation forward, when you put the manual in that has a provision for that and it gets approved, would allow that through the Legislative Commission. But that would be a question for legal. But I just wanted to understand what we were talking about, because I think part of the reason I wanted it to go through the regulatory process and not just be up to and outside the regulatory process was wanted that oversight. And I think it's important that we have it, but I also understand a degree of flexibility, but not too much, would be okay.
Thank you very much, Senator Daly. I believe I've got a question from Minority Leader Sievers-Gansert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After your testimony, we had some folks asking about in-person voting, and this manual is not to preclude anyone from voting in person. It's really about what you were just talking about. So this, again, I want to make sure the record is clear that does not preclude anyone from manual voting.
Thank you for the question, Minority Leader. Chair, through you to the Minority Leader.
Please go directly. Again, this is not a hearing, it's a work session, but I'm glad that you're here to answer questions members have. But go directly to the Senator.
Excellent, thank you. Mark Voloshin, for the record, that is correct, Senator. This will not in any way, shape, or form alter or prevent or reduce a voter's ability to vote in person. That is correct.
Manually, like to manually vote, not use an electronic machine.
No, ma'am. This bill does not impact or discuss the use of machines or otherwise.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions? Senator Krasner.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a question. Again, I received some questions after the hearing. Will this prevent some counties from being able to hand count ballots if they choose to do so? Please, thank you.
Gabriel DeCara, for the record, Senator Gansert, Sievers-Gansert, apologies. No, ma'am, this would not. Krasner, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong. I'm doing a great. I skipped lunch. No, ma'am. Again, this bill is just the creation of this elections procedure manual. That is a summary and collection of existing statute and regulations. This bill does not adjust the conduct of elections in any way.
And it does not have anything to do with the ability to hand count or not hand count ballots.
Gabriel DeCara, for the record. No, ma'am, it does not. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Deputy Secretary of State. Thank you, Senator Krasner. Members, any additional questions? Not seeing any, I would accept a motion to amend and do pass with the amendments listed here in the work session document.
Move to amend and do pass.
I have a motion from Senator Daly. Is there a second? Second from the Majority Leader. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, not seeing any discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note that passed unanimously. Director Anthony.
Thank you, Chair Orenshaw. The next bill before the committee is Senate Bill 60, revises various provisions relating to elections. It was brought forward by this committee on behalf of the Secretary of State, heard in this committee on March 2nd. SB 60 makes various numerous changes related to elections that are listed on the work session document. There are two proposed amendments, both from the Secretary of State. As committee members may recall, at the hearing, Secretary of State submitted an amendment. It's the first amendment attached. That amendment removes sections 6 and 10 of the bill to provide that mail ballot counting room must complete the count on or before the 9th day following the election. Those provisions are removed. It also seeks to amend NRS 293.5307, amends 294A.100, amends 293.391, amends 293.193, amends 293.394, amends 293.755, and makes two additional amendments to make sure the bill comports with the Federal Election Count Reform Act. Subsequent to the hearing, the Secretary of State also submitted a further conceptual amendment, also attached to the work session document, and that amendment contains several proposals, including amending 293.255 to broaden the time of service for election board officers, amends 293.504 to eliminate voter confusion caused when a voter does not go to the DMV and goes through the AVR process. It also reenacts NRS 293.316. It delays implementation of AB 432 from the last session for 1 year, delaying the implementation to January 1, 2025. It amends 293.413, amends 293.810, again amends all of Title 24 to comply with the Federal Electoral Count Reform Act for presidential elections. And lastly, it would require the Secretary of State to include the ability for a registered voter to indicate that they do not want to receive a paper ballot and an electronic form. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Director Anthony. Any questions regarding Senate Bill 60 or the amendments? Nope. Senator Sievers-Camp? Oh, discussion? Okay. Then right now I would be open to a motion to amend and do pass Senate Bill 60 with the two amendments here in the work session document.
Motion to amend.
Motion from Senator Daly. Is there a second? Second from the Majority Leader. Any discussion on the motion? Senator Sievers-Camp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Because of the number of amendments, and they're all conceptual amendments, I'm going to vote yes, but reserve my right to vote no because I'm not quite sure how it affects the entire bill. Thank you.
Certainly. Any other questions or comments? Senator Krasner.
Thank you, Chair. Because of all the amendments, I will be voting no, but reserve my right to change my vote to yes prior to floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Krasner. With that, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note that I believe Senator Krasner is a nay, and otherwise everyone else is an aye. And Senator Sievers-Camp, Senator Krasner reserve their right to potentially change on the floor.
Thank you, Chair Orenshaw. The next bill on the committee's work session today is Senate Bill 133. That revises provisions relating to presidential electors. sponsored by Senator Daley and others, was heard in this committee on February 21st. Senate Bill 133 is drafted, prohibits a person from conspiring to create or serve in a false slate of presidential electors, and also prohibits a state or local government from appointing to public office or employing such a person convicted of such an offense, and authorizes the Attorney General to prosecute such offenses. At the hearing, Senator Daley proposed a conceptual amendment, which is attached. The proposed amendment also authorizes the Secretary of State to conduct an investigation and cause proceedings to enforce the provisions of violations of the Act and to refer such violations to the Office of the Attorney General. Authorizes a person who believes a violation of Section 1 has occurred to refer the matter to the Secretary of State. Grants the Secretary of State subpoena power to investigate violations. And finally, authorizes the Secretary of State to apply for orders of compliance if said subpoena is not complied with. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And Director, if we could just take a brief recess. Thank you. I want to call our committee back to order, and we're getting a little bit revised language on SB 133 on the amendment. There was a Scrivener's error, and I think that Scrivener was me, and we're going to be getting the correct version in just a sec. But with that, Director, if we can go on to the next couple of bills in our work session, we'll come back to 133.
Thank you, Chair Orenshaw. The next bill before the committee today is Senate Bill 215, which revises various provisions relating to mechanical voting machines and mechanical recording devices. The bill was brought forward by this committee on behalf of the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. It was heard in this committee on March 16th. Senate Bill 215 requires the governing body of a county or city to return any money appropriated or granted for the purchase of a mechanical voting system or mechanical recording device if the city or county discontinues the use of the voting system or mechanical recording device and requires voting in person at the polls be conducted only by paper ballot. Again, this measure is prospective only, Mr. Chair, and there are no amendments.
Thank you very much. On Senate Bill 215, I appreciate, Director Anthony, that you did, as I made clear during the presentation, this is prospective. It's not a retroactive bill, and it came out of our Interim Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. With that, is there a motion for due pass?
So moved.
Motion from Senator Daley. Is there a second? Second from the Majority Leader. Any discussion on the motion? Senator Severs-Ganser.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm going to vote against this proposal, and I appreciate that it's not retroactive, but we also went through a very disruptive period where some counties felt they needed to pivot in the way that they hold their elections. So I'm going to vote no on this measure, but thank you.
Thank you, Senator Severs-Ganser. Any other questions or comments? Okay, not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note that there were 3 ayes and 2 nays. The measure has passed. And with that, I'll take the floor statement on 215. Director Anthony.
Thank you, Chair Orenshaw. The next bill on work session today is SB 279. SB 279 relates to various provisions relating to employment. It was brought forward by Senator Spearman and Assemblywoman Brown May, heard in this committee on April 4th. SB 279 establishes the state as a model employer program. This is to ensure that the state is implementing the best, most promising, and emerging policies, practices, and procedures relating to the hiring, promotion, and retention of persons with disabilities. There are no amendments to this bill.
Thank you very much, Director. And as I recall, there was no opposition at the hearing on Senate Bill 279. With that, I would accept a motion for due pass.
Due pass.
I have a motion from Senator Daley. Is there a second? I have a second from the Majority Leader. Any discussion on the motion? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note that Senate Bill 279 passed unanimously. I'll assign the floor statement to Senator Spearman. And Senator Daley, if you would be back up, just for any reason Senator Spearman's not there. And I neglected to assign floor statements for Senate Bill 54 and 60. Senator Daley will get the floor statement on Senate Bill 54, and I'll take the floor statement on Senate Bill 60. And with that, I believe we've got the correct amendment for one. It's coming. So
Go check if you'd like.
that. We will go back, I think, to our hearing. Where we were at on Senate Bill 406, thank you, Chief Deputy and Deputy, for being so flexible. And if we might need to impose on your kindness when we do get that correct amendment on 133, and then we'll be done with work session. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Orenshaw. I will go quickly. Gabriel DeCara, Chief Deputy Secretary of State for the record. So again, SB 406, walking through the amended version of the bill. That first section adds a new statute which clarifies that harassing or intimidating an election worker with the intent of interfering in the conduct of an election or retaliating for their work on an election is a Class E felony. This language is drawn from current statute regarding harassment or intimidation of voters and others at polling places. There's an important distinction here. So subsection 2 specifically confirms this harassment is a crime whether or not it happens at a polling place. We've heard too many stories about workers being followed to their cars from locations other than polling places like a county building, or targeted harassment that may take place at the worker's home. Subsection 3 makes it unlawful to disseminate personal identifying information of an election official without their consent if it meets, again, that necessary threshold of intent. We wish this weren't necessary, but we have heard just a number of stories of family members, including minor and adult children of election workers receiving targeted harassment, and we really need to say that enough is enough. Working with advocacy groups, there were concerns that some elements of this bill could be used to unfairly target individuals participating in election observation, poll observation, or counting board observation. It's very important to protect the transparency of the democratic process and allow those individuals to have their constitutional rights to observe as well. Observers fill an important role in that process. As a result, protections for observers were worked into subsection 6, outlining the rights of those observers. We feel that this bill gives prosecutors the tools they need to go after bad actors and halt the chilling effect that these unprecedented threats have had on our democracy. This bill is a priority for Secretary Aguilar because elections don't work without people, and we need to take steps to protect the people we have. So thank you all very much for your time, and we look forward to answering any questions you may have, but probably after this work session.
Thank you very much, Chief Deputy. And I do believe we have the correct amendment now, so if I could ask your indulgence, just we'll get right back to the bill hearing in just a sec. And I would ask members, hopefully, I believe everyone's got, if I pass this out, and this should be being posted on Nellis right now. Let me get a copy down there. Excuse me, Director, can I give you? Members should have that amendment, and that should be being posted on Nellis too. So with that, if there are any questions on the amendment, please take a little time to read it over, and then we can answer any questions. If members have questions, then we'll go to vote. Again, for anyone here in Carson City, we do have extra copies of the amendment, which I believe either our secretary has or are on the table at the front of the room if anybody wants to look at extra copies of the corrected amendment. And it should be being posted on Nellis as we speak. Members, are there any questions regarding the corrected amendment or the original bill? If not, I would accept a motion to amend and do pass Senate Bill 133 with the corrected amendment that we've passed around that has just been uploaded to Nellis that we have copies of here in Carson City. Motion from Senator Daly, amended do pass. Is there a second? Second from the Majority Leader. Any discussion on the motion? Senator Severs-Gansert.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to be a no on this. We just received this amendment moments ago, and I think we need to have time to look through it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Severs-Gansert. Any other discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note that there are 3 ayes and 2 nays. The measure has passed, and I'll give the floor statement to Senator Daly. Chief Deputy and Deputy, if you wouldn't mind coming back to Senate Bill 406, and thank you again for your patience on this measure.
Thank you very much, Chair Orenshaw, Gabriel DeCara. For the record, again, that was the conclusion of our presentation, and we look forward to taking any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you very much. Members, are there any questions on Senate Bill 406? Senator Daly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just wanted to make sure I heard you correctly because I didn't see it on here. So you guys are proposing to delete everything except for Section 1 in this bill?
Senator Gabriel DeCara, for the record. Yes, Senator Daly. Section 1 and I think Section 6, which is where the enforcement is. But yes, sir.
Under the effective date or whatever, I understand. So then I was just, the only other question, don't really have a question. I think I read through it and it appears to be in order from what I can see. But just a comment is that I think you have the reasonable man standard in there if a reasonable person would believe. So it's not just anybody who says, oh, I saw someone with a gun or, it's a reasonable person standard. Is that the standard you're trying to have apply to this?
Thank you for the question, Senator Daly. I believe the answer to that question is yes. I think the reasonable statement is actually in the provision around that doxing component of releasing someone's public personal identifying information. However, the first section, the intimidation harassment, again, that does include an intent threshold. So their intent would need to be proven for that to apply.
Thank you very much. Members, any additional questions? I'm not seeing any. Thank you very much for your presentation. I'd now like to open it to support for Senate Bill 406. I'll start here in Carson City, and then we'll go down to the Sawyer Building, then we'll go to the phone lines. Thank you for being here. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
My name is Paul Catha, that's spelled C-A-T-H-A, and I represent the Culinary Workers Union Local 226. Good afternoon, Chair Orenshaw and members of the committee. As many of you know, the Culinary Union runs the largest field campaigns in both Vegas and Reno, and in 2022, the union knocked on more than 1 million doors statewide. As a result, the union has very frequent interactions with our election workers at both the state and local levels. Nevada is lucky to have some of the best election laws and election workers in the nation. Our election officials, regardless of party, have truly been public servants who are primarily interested in making sure that every Nevadan who wishes to cast a vote is able to and that their vote is counted. The Culinary Union has witnessed the unfortunate rise of authoritarian tendencies in American politics, and Nevada has not been unaffected. Nevada's elections are safe, secure, and legitimate, but those who do not believe this are increasingly a threat to not just the electoral process, but the safety of Nevada's election workers and their families. The democratic process should be entirely free of intimidation and coercion, and the state has a duty to ensure that this is true, and that Nevada's election workers are treated with dignity and respect and have the safety they deserve. This bill is a common-sense measure that will protect election workers and Nevada's democracy. The Culinary Union urges the committee to support and pass SB 406. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Hello, committee. My name is Ashley Garza Kennedy, representing Clark County, here to testify in support, and just really appreciate the Secretary of State for their advocacy in protecting our election workers. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Emily Prasad Zamora, PERSAUD-ZAMORA, and I'm the Executive Director of Silver State Voices that leads the Let Nevadans Vote Coalition, and today we're in strong support of SB 406. Election officials are the unsung heroes of our democracy. They work tirelessly to run Nevada's elections and ensure all voters can cast their ballots. It's unacceptable that our public servants have faced harassment for simply doing their job. Last year, U.S. federal agents arrested a Nevada man for threatening a worker at the Secretary of State's office. We support this bill as it provides legal protections for election officials against intimidation, violence, disseminating personal information without consent, physical injury, and stalking. Furthermore, we support the language that includes coverage for close family members and partners because unfortunately they have also been part of on the receiving end of harassment. Part of our work at Silver State Voices is helping recruit nonpartisan election workers during election season. Unfortunately, physical safety is still a priority for election workers, and it's something that we have to consider when recruiting candidates. Lastly, we also appreciate the added language to protect the constitutional rights of observers. Observers should not have to fear for their safety. We'd like to thank the Secretary of State and his team for including us as stakeholders on such an important topic. It's unfortunate that the Secretary of State's office and other public servants have to take strong safety precautions for doing their civic duty. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Prasad Zamora. Good afternoon, Mr. Hasibullah, and please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Attar Hasibullah, first name spelled A-T-H-A-R, last name spelled H-A-S-E-E-B-U-L-L-A-H. I'm the Executive Director for the ACLU of Nevada, a member of the Let Nevadans Vote Coalition, and we also have coordinated the nonpartisan legal observation program statewide. We are appreciative for the Secretary of State's office, their entire staff, as well as the Attorney General's office, and addressing our potential concerns with respect to the bill, and coming up with language that really does bolster the ability for individuals to observe regardless of their party, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or a nonpartisan, regardless of the candidate you support. This bill has benefits for everyone, not only for our election workers, and we recognize the challenges these departments face statewide in terms of recruitment, but for those that are engaging in observation activity. This bill is one of few that I've seen where there's been true collaboration around voting rights issues, but also around the right of people to have their First Amendment right to protect their own selves as they're engaging in election observation. So a big shout out to Secretary Aguilar, to Mr. DeCara, and the rest of the staff, including Mr. Woloshyn and others at the Secretary of State's office, and we're proud to support this bill. Thanks.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Christine Saunders, and I'm the Policy Director with the Progressive Leadership Alliance in Nevada, here in support of Senate Bill 406. A plan we believe our democracy is the most vibrant the more people are participating in it, and this includes the important workers who make our elections happen. We also want to thank the Secretary of State's office for hearing our concerns regarding observation activities and accepting the amendment presented today. Together with our election officials, we will work to ensure every voter in Nevada has a positive voting experience and urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Annette Magnus, and I'm the Executive Director of Battleborn Progress, and we are here today in strong support of SB 406. Our election officials are here to ensure that our elections are safe, secure, and accessible for all Nevada voters. SB 406 is a bill that will protect these individuals who work day in and day out from those who wish to harm them or their loved ones. These threats, unfortunately, have become all too common. We need to be providing these officials with adequate support, and we believe that this bill is an important step in the right direction. We also thank the Secretary of State's office for working with our groups on this amendment. We urge this legislative body to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Magnus. Good afternoon. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Isaac Tenorio, I-Z-A-C-K, Tenorio, T-E-N-O-R-I-O. Isaac Tenorio with Strategies 360, today representing Campaign Legal Center Action, a national, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that works to protect and strengthen American democracy across all levels of government. We urge your support on SB 406 to protect election officials in Nevada. Election officials across the country have been on the receiving end of an onslaught of threats, harassments, and stalking that has escalated to an undeniable crisis. Nevada, unfortunately, is no exception. Despite hailing from across the political spectrum, election officials in the Silver State have come under fire for simply carrying out their duties. An HA1 survey in 2002 revealed that 1 out of every 6 local election officials have themselves experienced threats due to their jobs, with 77% of them reporting the threats and violence had increased in recent years. The experiences of Nevadan election administrators confirm this on the local level. 10 of Nevada's 17 counties have lost their clerk or registrar of voters since 2020, with many of them coming from resignations in response to threats and harassments. At least 6 other states across the country have laws prohibiting violence, threats, and harassment towards election officials, including Colorado, Georgia, Maine, New Hampshire, Oregon, and Pennsylvania. Nevada can and should join this list. Dedicated election officials are the necessity for free, fair, and secure elections that Nevadans deserve, and we must do everything we can to protect them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tenorio. Good afternoon, Registrar. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Amy Bergens, Douglas County Clerk Treasurer. I first want to thank the Secretary of State for coming into his office with the passion and understanding of what we do and the protections that we need, and I want to thank this committee for hearing this bill. Senate Bill 406 is very important. As you know, after the 2020 election, we did lose a lot of the clerks that previously had worked in this position, but on top of that, we also lost a lot of our poll workers. A lot of the poll workers didn't want to come back. It's a contentious job, even just to be a poll worker. So we appreciate the fact that this is going to give a little bit of teeth to enforcement. I personally have been the recipient of a stalker during the primary election last year and death threats during the general election, and I am the single mom of 5 children. Fortunately, I have an amazing sheriff who patrolled my neighborhood and my house. So there wasn't a lot of teeth to be able to do anything about it. This bill will assist in that. I appreciate the teamwork that went into it. I was honored to be a part of the teamwork to bring the amendment forward, and I appreciate everyone that came together. I do agree. My observers are very important to me. They bring vital information to light during the election, so I appreciate the fact that the amendment includes the observers. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Clerk Treasurer. And obviously, no election official should have to go through what you went through. And I appreciate the Secretary bringing this bill. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair Orenshall, members of the committee. My name is Beth Schmidt, SCHMIDT. I represent the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We appreciate the Secretary of State for bringing this bill forward, and we support SB 406.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in support of SB 406 here in Carson City who wants to be heard on the record? All right. At the Sawyer Building, anyone in support of Senate Bill 406? Not seeing anyone at the Sawyer Building. Broadcasting, is there anyone on the phone lines in support of Senate Bill 406 who wants to be heard?
To testify in support of SB 406, press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, to testify in support of SB 406, press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, I am Donna West. I live in Senate District 14. I have volunteered as both a poll observer as well as a vote count observer at the Clark County Election Department the past several cycles. I appreciate the protections provided to both staff and volunteers under SB 406. Please support and pass this necessary bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. West. Broadcasting, anyone else on the phone lines in support of Senate Bill 406?
Thank you, Chair Orenshall and members of the committee. I'm Dayla Gibson, DAELA-GIBSON, Director of Public Affairs with Planned Parenthood Marmonte. We are a member of the Let Nevadans Vote Coalition. We strongly support SB 406 and ditto on other statements made in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gibson. Broadcasting, anyone else on the phone lines?
Yes, Chair, one moment.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Alvin Chan, spelled A-L-V-I-N, last name Chan, C-H-A-N. I am the program manager for Native Voters Alliance Nevada, and we are in strong support of SB 406. In the 2022 cycle, our organization made hundreds or thousands of voter attempts across the state and turned out voters in every single county across Nevada. We aim to build political power for the 28 federally recognized tribes here in the state of Nevada, as well as for all the urban natives living in Clark County and Washoe. BIPOC voters already vote at a lower rate than their white peers, and we simply don't need to add any reason to dissuade any BIPOC voters from going to the polls, whether it simply be a lack of polling locations because of lack of poll workers or intimidation at the polls themselves. We believe strongly in supporting SB 406, and I further echo the comments made by my colleagues. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chan.
Chair, and committee members, my name is Brian Harris, and I'm calling in to testify in my personal capacity to support Senate Bill 406. I have volunteered as a nonpartisan election protection observer, and I feel like this is an important bill, and I really appreciate the amendment protecting the staff and observers as well as the election officials. Please support this bill, and I want to thank the Secretary of State's office for bringing it forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harris.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Eric Chang, ERICJENG, Acting Executive Director for One API Nevada, and also Director of Outreach for our 501c3 counterpart, Asian Community Development Council, ACDC. As a core partner for Let Nevadans Vote, and as an organization that has recruited dozens, if not hundreds, of nonpartisan election protection observers and volunteer shifts, democracy is on the line, and exercising our voting rights should be sacred and free from fear and intimidation. We are here to thank the Secretary of State and his office for proposing SB 406 and for working with community partners in amending, as well as all the county registrars and election department and their team for their sacrifices and their service. We urge for your support in passing SB 406. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chang.
Caller, last three digits 155. Press *6 to unmute yourself, please.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Christy Cabrera Georgeson, CHRISTI CABRERA GEORGESON. I'm the Deputy Director of the Nevada Conservation League, and we're here in support of SB 406. We cannot have a healthy environment without a healthy democracy, and election officials are key to ensuring our elections are run smoothly. It's critical that we protect these workers so that they're able to do their jobs. We'd like to thank the Secretary of State for bringing this bill forward, and we urge the committee's support. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Chair Orenshaw and committee members, my name is Eric Kregel, ERICKREGEL, a Reno resident, a volunteer member of the Sierra Club's Legislative Committee, and a devoted to civic engagement. On behalf of the club, the world's largest environmental volunteer organization, and our more than 30,000 members and supporters statewide, I speak in support of Bill SB 406. The 2020 election cycle saw an unprecedented rise of threats of violence against election officials, from top administrators to the temporary poll workers and election department employees. Fueled by disinformation, these threats extended beyond the workplace of their homes to their homes and families. A former Washoe County registrar stepped down and other workers quit because of threats and harassment. Armed protesters gathered at the Clark County Election Department nightly while the vote count was underway. A Brandon County study found 1 in 3 election workers have concerns for their safeties. Our election workers are essential to the peaceful transfer of power from the presidency to local races, and we can't thank them enough. However, We can, as citizens and lawmakers, give these devoted election officials the assurance of safety for them and their families in the next election cycle by enacting this bill. Specific language prohibits intimidation, stalking, and doxing against all election workers and employees of the office of Secretary of State with duties related to elections. For these reasons and others not stated, we urge you to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
Good afternoon, Chair and Vice Chair and the committee. This is Dora Martinez, DORA-MARTINEZ, representing the Nevada Disability Peer Action Coalition. We are in 100% support of this bill. As a blind constituent, we really do want our poll workers and volunteers to be safe so they could help people with disability who choose not to use the NVEs and want to go in person and vote. So please, we encourage you to support this bill and pass. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
If you have just joined us and would like to testify in support of SB 406, press star 9 or raise your hand in the Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no more callers willing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. I'd like to now go to opposition to SB 406 here in Carson City. If there's anyone who wants to speak in opposition, now's your chance. We're limiting it to 2 minutes per speaker. Don't see anyone in Carson City. The Sawyer Building, anyone who's opposed to Senate Bill 406 wants to be heard. Okay, not seeing anyone broadcasting. Is there anyone on the phone lines who wishes to speak in opposition to Senate Bill 406?
To testify in opposition of SB 406, press star 9 to take your place in the queue or raise your hand in the Zoom window. Caller, last 3 digits 002. Press star 6 to unmute yourself, please. One moment, Jeff.
Good afternoon. Oscar Williams for the record, OSCAR-WILLIAMS from Reno. I'm opposed to SB 406. I have a right to free speech. I have a right to close grievances. And I have a right to have complaints about elections and election contest results fairly, accurately, and as efficiently provided by law. This lopsided bill does nothing to protect my rights. It does everything to chill my desire to challenge you, to make sure that you're doing things accurately. It further pulls the veil over transparency. Part of the issue is, as I've experienced, complaints of maladministration are not responded to. My right to have complaints about elections and election contests resolved fairly, accurately, and efficiently has not been adhered to. There's been gross violations at the county level in Washoe County. And you want me to support this bill that makes it harder for me to pursue my complaint. Now, I'd be happy to share my complaint with this board, with Mr. Orenshaw and the others, and let's have a discussion about how complaints of maladministration get squashed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much,
There are
broadcasting.
no more callers willing to testify in opposition at this time.
Broadcasting, no one else in opposition?
There's no one to testify at this time, Chair.
Thank you. Neutral on Senate Bill 406 here in Carson City or at the Sawyer Building. Anyone who's neutral on the measure and wants to be heard? Okay, not seeing anyone in the committee rooms. Broadcasting, is there anyone on the phone lines who wishes to be heard in the neutral position on Senate Bill 406?
To testify neutral to SB 406, press star 9 or raise your hand in the Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers willing to testify neutral at this time.
Thank you very much. Chief Deputy DeGuerra, any closing remarks you'd like to make?
Thank you very much, Chair Orenshaw, members of the committee. Gabriel DeCara for the record, Chief Deputy Secretary of State. I'd just like to thank you all for hearing this bill. As you heard in this testimony, there are This happened too often, and it happened here in Nevada. It happened to our friends and our neighbors, and we believe that this bill is a solution to help make sure it doesn't happen again. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, and thank you to the Secretary for bringing this important legislation. With that, we'll close the hearing on Senate Bill 406, and I'd like to hand the gavel over to Vice Chair Daley, and I will open the hearing on Senate Bill 268, and I will run down there, and thank you, Vice Chair Daley.
Welcome, Senator Orenshaw. Please proceed.
Thank you, Vice Chair Daley. Good afternoon. For the record, James Orenshaw, I represent State Senate District 21 down in southern Nevada. I want to thank the committee for your indulgence in hearing Senate Bill 268. I'm actually joined down south by former Nevada Assemblywoman Vaughn Chowning, who was a leader in many facets during her time in the State Assembly, and one of them had to do with this important issue regarding fireworks here in our state and the need for uniformity across all our counties. Fireworks are an exciting part of many celebrations in our country, not the least of which is Independence Day. However, according to a new report by the Consumer Product Safety Commission, there's been a 25% increase in firework injuries over the last 15 years. 11,500 people were treated in emergency rooms in 2021 alone, according to that report. Majority of the injuries suffered are burns, common injuries to the ears, extremities, eyes, face, and head. The regulation of fireworks in Nevada may sound like a straightforward proposition, but it's actually kind of complicated. That's why Senate Bill 268 is before you today. Under current law, our Nevada State Fire Marshal is required to enforce all laws and adopt regulations relating to the storage and use of fireworks that are not otherwise regulated by the Division of Industrial Relations under the Department of Business and Industry. However, a board of county commissioners is also authorized under current Nevada law to pass ordinances concerning the sale, use, storage, and possession of fireworks. Finally, a town board or a board of county commissioners is authorized to regulate the storage of gunpowder and other explosive or combustive materials. With that background, Vice Chair and committee, I'd like to turn to the provisions of this bill. It's straightforward and would simply require the Secretary of State to place an advisory question on the 2024 general election ballot. The question would ask our voters of Nevada whether the legislature should direct the state fire marshal to adopt statewide regulations regulating the sale and use of fireworks. With that, Vice Chair, and your indulgence, I'd like to turn it over to my co-presenters down in southern Nevada, and then I'm happy to answer any questions.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chairman Orenshaw, Vice Chair Daley, and members of the committee. My name is Vaughn Chowning. I'm a former state assemblywoman for District 28. I'm here in support of Senate Bill 268. It is a straightforward measure that asks that the state fire marshal be allowed to develop regulations statewide for the sale and use of fireworks. Because as you know, right now, it's a mixture. It's by counties. And in the northern part of the state, you don't have the problems that we do in the southern part of the state. And in the southern part of the state, the 4th of July is not an enjoyable holiday. We have to stay home because we're afraid that our homes are going to burn. We have to stay home because our pets suffer immeasurably. And the reason for this is because of the explosive items that are sold by a neighboring county. And people say, well, but maybe it's going to get better. Well, it hasn't gotten better. In 1 year alone, there were 30,000 complaints to the Metropolitan Police Department. The county tried a measure that said, I spy, and for everybody to submit their complaints to them, but it didn't help. It's getting worse and worse, and it truly feels like we're in a war. We've tried with the legislature many sessions, and now we feel that the best thing to do is to let the voters have their voice. We never had this as a question before, and the best thing to do would be to allow the voters to have their voice. I urge you to support this measure. Thank you.
Vice Chair Daley, I think I also see Elmer Chowning and former State Senator David Parks down in Southern Nevada. With your indulgence, if they might speak, and then I'm happy to answer the questions.
My testimony is for the Senate Legislative Operations and Elections Committee. My name is Elmer Chowning. I'm a co-executive director of the Law Center for Fireworks Safety. I'm reading for the record regarding Senate Bill 268. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman Daley, and members of the committee. I thank you for providing myself and other interested parties in attendance this opportunity to voice our concerns about this extremely important public safety issue for our state's residents. The extremely important public safety issue question is, should the state of Nevada establish a state fireworks safety control policy law? Those of us who reside in Southern Nevada believe that our lives, our health, safety, and well-being are unfairly and severely impacted by the present state-county option law. This county option law allows each of our 17 counties to determine its own fireworks regulation. At this time, 15 of the 17 counties ban the sale and use of explosive fireworks. 2 counties allow year-round sale of the highly dangerous explosive firework types, like aerial bombs, bottle rockets, handheld explosive firecrackers, and Roman candles. I believe that the residents of Clark County are severely and unfairly impacted by the hodgepodge patchwork state-county option of the state-county option policy. This is subjecting our residents to the horrors of warlike sounds in our neighborhoods. The horrific warlike sounds are from aerial rockets, audible for miles, shattering peaceful neighborhoods, bringing fear with each warlike explosion. Southern Nevada residents are being increasingly subjected to the horrors due to the vulnerability to Nye County, where the explosive items are being sold. Our state of Nevada is long overdue for a reevaluation of its very weak and unfair fireworks safety policy. This policy is failing to protect the health, safety, and well-being of all of our residents. Many residents suffer from PTSD, such as veterans who have served our country in combat, as well as other residents with mental health issues. Our wonderful pets also suffer from the exploding sounds. It is inhumane. In closing, I believe that your support of SB 268 will provide a pathway to better protect all Nevadans from the highly dangerous exploding aerial fireworks that terrorize our neighborhoods. I plead to you to give Nevadans the opportunity to vote on whether they want better fireworks safety policy. Honorable members of the committee, please ask yourselves, is there really a need for a state fireworks safety control policy law? Consider the consequences without one. Please give us, Nevada residents and taxpayers, an opportunity to have a say. Please vote to put this measure on the ballot in November of 2024. I know it's a matter of life and death. Sincerely, Elmer E. Chowning, 6-year veteran of the Vietnam era. Thank you. Oh, one more. I have submitted exhibits that you probably have received. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Daley and committee members. For the record, I am David Parks, P-A-R-K-S. Today, I appear before you in support of Senate Bill 268. During previous sessions, I co-sponsored legislation along with Senator Orenshaw and Assemblywoman Chowning that sought to regulate dangerous fireworks. As you're well aware, fireworks aren't just pretty, they're dangerous. As fun and cool looking as fireworks are, it's extremely important to remember that some fireworks are considered very dangerous. Bear in mind that many fireworks burn up to 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit. In 2021, an estimated 11,500 people were injured in incidents involving hazardous and explosive nature of fireworks. Fireworks can cause serious burns, eye injuries, amputation of fingers and hands, hearing loss, and in some cases, death. When I was a member of the legislature, I often heard from combat veterans complaining of the loud noises created by an unending barrage of exploding fireworks. Thank you for the privilege of testifying today. Thank you. Ready for questions now?
Vice Chair, members of the committee, James Orenshaw, State Senate District 21. Happy to answer any questions.
Committee, any questions on this? I just have one if it's okay, and I don't know who can answer it. So obviously Clark County has a rule that says you can't sell. So what's the rule on possessing? So they buy it, bring it across the county line. Is it an enforcement issue on some level, or is it okay to possess, just not purchase? So I don't know what the rule is in Clark County.
And James Orenshaw, State Senate District 21. Prior to the 4th of July, there are stands all over Clark County and the different municipalities that are run by different nonprofits. Those sell safe and sane fireworks. In terms of the local ordinances, and I hope I'm not wrong, but I believe that possession and or sales of the non-safe and sane fireworks, the kind that were mentioned by Assemblywoman Chowning and former Senator Parks and Mr. Chowning, the kind that are aerial, I believe those are prohibited. And if I'm incorrect, I believe we're going to have someone from Clark County who will speak after, but I believe possession and sales is prohibited in Clark County. And I believe in other counties as well.
Of only certain types, so.
In Clark County, I believe only the safe and sane are allowed to be sold, not the kind that are aerial. And if I'm incorrect, I'll dial a friend with Assemblywoman Chowning or Senator Parks or Mr. Chowning, but I believe that's how I understand the Clark County ordinance.
Phone a friend, but you only have 2 strikes after, or two.
Hello again. In Clark County, there's only a 7-day period when the safe and sane fireworks are allowed for sale and for use. So before those 7 days and after, like on July 5th, everything is illegal in Clark County. And only nonprofit organizations are allowed to sell the safe and sane fireworks. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, I think it did, if I understand so there is a period near the holiday where certain people can sell certain fireworks and that they're legal during that period for those certain fireworks to possess and light them off, I guess. But any other fireworks that are not the safe and sane sold by any other vendor inside or outside those periods are illegal to possess or sell or use.
James Orenshaw, State Senate District 21. That's how I understand our Clark County ordinances. And if I'm incorrect, then hopefully someone will correct me. But I believe possession, sales, or the use of any of the kind of fireworks that are not the safe and sane kind that we normally see at the nonprofit charity booths right before the 4th of July. And of course, some of the fireworks that are illegal in Clark County come in from our neighboring counties. Some come from fireworks sold on Native American tribes, and that, of course, the bill cannot affect that. I know some states, I believe, have worked out treaties with some of the Native American tribes where certain fireworks are prohibited, but this bill, if it passed, if voters did approve it, would encourage statewide regulation by the fire marshal of anything that he's got control over, which would not include fireworks sold on Native American land.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we'll, you want to step back, we'll open up for testimony in support of Senate Bill 268. Seeing none, either here or in Las Vegas, broadcasting, anybody on the phones in support of Senate Bill 268.
To testify in support of SB 268, press *9 to take your place in the queue or raise your hand. Again, to testify in support of SB 268, press *9 or raise your hand in the Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers willing to testify in support.
Thank you. With that, we'll stay on the phones and see, is there anyone in opposition to SB 268?
To testify in opposition of Senate Bill 268, press *9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon. My name is Alex Emerson. I'm a store manager at Black Duck Fireworks in Pahrump. Through the fireworks industry, I was given a chance to shine and succeed. As a young man, I completed an associate's degree in business administration, but was never given an opportunity to show those talents despite my best efforts. I was stuck in food service and various other industries, unable to move vertically in any field. That wasn't until I got into the fireworks industry. After applying to DMC Imports, my talents and dedication were immediately recognized, and without this industry, I would still be stuck in a job instead of the beautiful career that I've been able to develop. My dedication has been fully reciprocated in this industry, and it's rare that you find something that can give you back as much as you've put in. And in fireworks, we've found just that. Every extra effort that we have been made has been recognized, not just by our employees, but our industry and our consumers. I've been able to work with influencers, celebrities, and people from all walks of life to help bring joy to their lives through these spectacular fireworks shows. And they can then further spread that joy. Without this industry, I would have none of those opportunities. And now, as a store manager in the fireworks industry, I'm afforded the opportunity to continue these trends of finding and developing excellent talent and drive. I can find those who would otherwise be overlooked and help them develop careers of their own. And this industry provides a space where flourishing is encouraged and where those with drive, dedication, and determination are rewarded in kind. So it is my hope that the Nevada State Legislature will not rip us from or rip our joy from us, our opportunity from us, and our livelihood by allowing this stuff.
Thank you. Broadcasting, any other callers in opposition?
Good afternoon. Dale Way, Deputy Fire Chief with Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District here in Reno, Nevada. I also have had experience in Southern Nevada. I regulated fireworks there for 20 years with North Las Vegas, so I'm very well aware of the issue. Our opposition, I believe, is due to the wording here. I believe the wording of this is vague and would tend to encourage voters to believe that this was the legalization of fireworks throughout the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Broadcasting, any other callers?
Just one moment, Chair.
No.
Good afternoon, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak in opposition to Senate Bill 268. My name is Michael Baggett, and I'm the Human Resources Coordinator for D&T Imports. As a veteran of the U.S. Army with multiple combat tours, I've always been called to serve those around me. This ultimately led me to pursue a second career as a human resources professional, and I'm proud to say that I support the fireworks industry in that role. On a daily basis, I work with people from all walks of life from employees working their first job to retirees who simply want to stay connected to their community, and everyone in between. But there's one group I'm the most proud of. Those are the individuals that are working to get their lives back on track and recovering from substance abuse. These individuals struggle to find employment, but I'm honored to say they get a second chance in my industry. Through the cooperation of nonprofit organizations, we're able to help people restart their lives in a safe and supportive environment that helps them flourish. As someone who believes in second chances, I'm asking you, don't steal that chance from them. They need the opportunity the fireworks industry gives them to learn to have an effective life and to safely operate fireworks. They need your support, and so do we. Thank you.
Thank you. Broadcasting, next caller.
Hi, my name is Douglas Burda, BURDA, CEO of Red Apple Fireworks in Pahrump, Nye County, Nevada. Just wanted to mention that my business is family-owned and operated and has been for the past 42 years. We opened in Pahrump about 12 years ago, and since then have spent what we see as a huge amount of effort developing what has become a successful business, specifically in reliance on the rules and regulations as they exist presently in the state of Nevada. My company presently employs 60 full-time people and another 150 seasonally, approximately. We pay significant state and local taxes, and very proudly, most recently, we are presently under construction of a $12 million facility in Pahrump, Nevada, which is the result of all of these efforts. On the basis of transparency and predictability and our ability to support our Red Apple Fireworks family, our employees and the families of our employees, we are in strong opposition to SB 268. Thank you.
Thank you. Broadcasting, next caller.
My name is Dawn Bennett, and I am the General Manager of Area 51 Fireworks in Pahrump, Nevada. I have been with the company for 11 years. I started as a cashier and was allowed to grow to the position that I am as a General Manager. During our season, I manage over 250 employees, and the company itself, it allows us to all grow, not only myself, but has also given everybody the option to be able to grow, to purchase homes and vehicles and support our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Broadcasting, next caller.
Hi, I'll be speaking with Red Apple Fireworks. My name is Gina Wilson. I have worked with Red Apple Fireworks for a little over 11 years. They have provided me with a stable employment for myself and my family for health insurance. They also have hired over 100 seasonal employees and retain over 60 full-time employees per year. This bill will have an impact on us being able to support these employees and their families yearly. This bill could also have a detrimental effect on being able to support people like me who have been able to make large purchases like buying a house, cars, and everyday needs. Thanks to Red Apple Fireworks. Thank you.
Thank you. Broadcasting, next caller.
Hi, this is Richard Sheehan from DNT Imports, representing Area 51 Fireworks and Blackjack. Like Red Apple, this business has been in the Pahrump area since 1979. We employ 60 full-time employees and 250 part-time employees. We have 8 business licenses. We pay sales tax, use tax, property taxes. We're currently working very closely with the County of Nye and building an 80,000 square foot warehouse. Fireworks are Americana. The first fireworks in celebration of Independence Day were launched in 1777, the first anniversary. Thank you.
Thank you. Broadcasting, any additional callers?
Chair, there are no more callers with testifying opposition at this time.
Thank you. So with that, we'll proceed with opposition here in Carson or in Las Vegas. And we got to be on floor in 7 minutes, so if you hear what someone already said, say ditto.
Hello, Chair. For the record, my name is Vincent Guthreau. Last name spelled Gutreau. I serve as the Executive Director of NACO, or the Nevada Association of Counties. We just rise in opposition because our members believe that these decisions are best handled at the local level, and shifting local authority to the state fire marshal we see as problematic. I think you heard some testimony today that shows how sort of complicated it is in different communities, which is why we believe regulating at the local level is the ideal situation. So with that, thank you.
Hello, Committee. Ashley Garza Kennedy, representing Clark County, testifying in opposition to SB 268 today. Illegal fireworks are an issue of concern for our board, and we have our own related ordinance and have established a reporting and enforcement program that we stand up around the holidays when fireworks are an issue. We would be supportive of further restricting illegal fireworks and are supportive of stricter regulations. However, the bill as written, we don't believe accomplishes that goal. We are supportive of keeping local authority to regulate fireworks in a manner that's consistent with our local needs and the needs of our constituents. I know there was a couple questions about Clark County in particular. Our Safe and Sane program is the fireworks that are allowed to be used in Clark County. They can only be sold during certain holidays and sold at locally licensed and inspected fireworks stands that are permitted to sell the fireworks. We don't allow folks to use or possess illegal fireworks, and we do have penalties in place. We have a public information campaign that we stand up around the holidays where residents are encouraged to report any possession or illegal use of fireworks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. For the record, Susan Fisher with McDonald Carano, speaking today on behalf of Phantom Fireworks. Phantom is a great community partner in Nye County. They've been there for over 20 years. They're in the process now of building a very large warehouse storage facility because Nye County had required the fireworks companies, they'd usually had stood up had some portable units that they kept their fireworks in, and they said that they wanted to have warehousing permanent structures there. So we're now in the process of building a very large warehouse. We have a huge investment in both in the county, Nye County, and in the state of Nevada. We do require signage in all of our stores in Nye County. We have a couple of them, signage that says what counties, which fireworks are allowed in and which ones they are not allowed in. So the sales staff in the stores are very diligent about advising consumers where they can and cannot use the fireworks. I would add also that the state fire marshal was not consulted about this bill prior to introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Vice Chair Daly, members of the committee, good afternoon. I'm Mark Fiorentino with the law firm of Kempfer Kroll. We actually represent two parties in this bill. The first is Red Apple Fireworks, but you heard directly from Mr. Berta, who owns the company. And so I will speak today on behalf of Nye County, the other client of ours that is affected by this bill. Nye County, as you've probably heard me say over the years, is opposed really for basically three reasons. One is a potential significant fiscal impact on the county and its businesses. Nye County has been relying on the current system that allows counties to make the decisions for themselves for quite some time and has invested a substantial amount of time, money, and effort on that system. So it permits the sale and use of certain aerial fireworks, but only under certain controlled circumstances. For example, when you buy the fireworks, you also have to buy a certificate, a permit that allows you to shoot them only at a county-operated shooting facility where they're under control of people who know how to use them safely. Based on their current estimates, those permit licenses and taxes result in about $700,000 a year in revenue to Nye County, which for Nye County is significant. So making a change that is contemplated by this bill ultimately would have a significant impact on Nye County and its citizens. The second reason Nye County is opposed is because it would have a significant cost on the state, not just in the lost sales tax revenues to the state, but in the similar bill that was introduced last session, I think the state fire marshal in his fiscal note estimated that it would cost him about $650,000 a year to get statewide regulations up and implemented. And then finally, the third reason is that it's not likely to be effective on what people are concerned about. The concerns that people have raised are real in terms of the noise and the fear it causes in animals, but as has already been pointed out, the fire marshal will likely have no control to apply the regulations to our Native American tribes. So the ultimate result is you would just shift the sales to the tribes and the sales tax revenue from the state and the local entities to the tribes. The better approach is to work on enforcement. And I'm done here, but Nye County last session, as you might remember, worked closely with Clark County and Senator Orenshaw and other stakeholders to pass a bill strengthening other counties' enforcement authority and their ability to impose fines. That's the sensible approach, not to allow the state fire marshal to regulate it statewide. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. I imagine that was longer than 2 minutes, so I thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Hi, Vice Chair Daley and members of the committee. I'm Alex Canita with the law firm Lewis Roca here on behalf of Jake's Fireworks. As you already heard tonight, we echo some of the same fiscal concerns. Additionally, we worry that if this bill passes, it could allow one company to monopolize the market and could lead to a loss of jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm not going to give anybody a second chance, so we're going to go to neutral testimony here or in Clark County. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Alex Tanchek with Silver State Government Relations on behalf of Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe. Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe understands this bill proposes placing an advisory question before the voters in 2024. Whatever the ultimate result of this bill or any potential advisory question, Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe hopes all matters of tribal sovereignty continue to be given full and appropriate consideration. Thank you.
Being no other opposition, broadcasting, can we go to the phone for anybody in opposition to Senate Bill 268?
Chair, we have no calls willing to testify in opposition at this time.
Orenshaw, come on up, if you'd like.
Vice Chair, members of the committee, James Orenshaw, State Senate District 21. Thank you so much for the time in hearing Senate Bill 268. I appreciate many different folks who've come to talk to me about the bill and talk about, possible solutions to address my concerns, the concerns of the folks I'm working with. Certainly, I think we heard from some of the folks in opposition that, local control is best. And I think local control is great in many, many circumstances. However, there are certain items where transported across county lines where they're not legal, where we've seen house fires down in Clark County. We've seen forest fires up in this part of the state and in eastern Nevada that, testimony in prior sessions was that it was related to fireworks that were not legal in that county. Would something like this solve that problem completely? Of course not. There still need to be treaties with the Native American tribes to try to deal with the issue of fireworks that are illegal if there were a statewide fireworks law. Currently, under the language of Senate Bill 268, the fiscal notes that I've seen online are zero. Fiscal note for a prior bill, a prior session, there was a fiscal note from the state fire marshal, but not in this current legislation. I appreciate the committee's indulgence and look forward to further questions and further discussions on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll close the hearing on Senate Bill 268, and we'll
With that, members, we have one more bill to hear. We'll close the hearing on Senate Bill 268. Senator Pazina will be presenting her bill, but I believe that'll have to be after floor because we're going to be heading down to floor momentarily. So we will recess and meet back after floor. Thank you.